Hey, top of the morning to you. I'm Michael, as the grandkids call me Rue. Thanks for being on. It is Monday. I believe it's June 7th. Holy smokes, June 7th. We're into the 280 something days that I've been doing this show since I started last March of 2020. Holy panoli or cannoli or something. Anyway, thanks for being on the show this morning. You know what? I flew it into the beach. I didn't fly it by myself. The internet was just acting ridiculous on Saturday. And then I had a major technical glitch that a piece of music that they said didn't belong to me that I'd purchased. Anyway, we had that discussion and argument. And so I just said, okay, Monday, I'll just go on without any music and I'll prove it to you. I don't know who it proves to what. Maybe it proves that I'm just a little bit as stubborn as they are. But anyway, glad to have you on the show this morning. If you're on the show, let me see. Oh, there we go. The window just woke up and I see some comments. See, and so the internet is, this just happens. Thank you for being patient with it. You know what? We have been so fortunate and lucky that all of this has just kind of just happened right along. I see some of you populating the show this morning, so thanks. And I see I'm going to need to say good morning to some. I don't need to. I want to say good morning to some of you who are on the show. Let me show you the desk here just real quickly, just show you what we're going to get into, and I'll say good morning. And I've been in the black and white mode. Maybe some of you saw the post I did yesterday. Here's the desk. Of course, there's my top of the morning Roo. Done with two different pens, not a whole lot different than what I started again. I started drawing a crow early this morning, just on a little piece of Canson 140-pound paper. Here it is right here, and I'm using a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, so I got a little bit of an issue. I'm using 7 different pens this morning, and this is the Extreme Gel pen from Yasutoma, the Y&C pen. This pen is in the stylus family. You know, I still have a couple of my original stylus right there that Ned sent me from out in the island. Out off Washington out there. And so I love that pen. I love several of them. They're just almost impossible to find anymore. You can't get them. And if you can find them, they're so expensive that you don't want to find them. So that's been no fun. I just got into this sketching this little crow, and I haven't done but probably 5 or 6 crows, if that many. Well, yeah, I have now because yesterday I kind of went on a crow rampage. A group of crows is called a murder. Did you know that? Yeah, that's really something. This was the first one I did, and I looked at a picture, but he wasn't talking to a bee. I just thought he needs to be talking to something, and so this is just pen and ink. This is I think 4 different pens, and then I thought, what's he going to say? It was an old joke. It's an old joke. This crow walks into a bar. Ouch, ouch. Yeah, crowbar. And so the bee's telling the joke, and someone said, don't crows eat bees? Hey, look, crows will eat anything. I mean, they'll eat your pearls if you leave them laying out on the picnic table. You know, if you go picnicking in pearls. But I think you get the concept there of what I'm talking about. So this was the crow that I did yesterday, and then I thought, I like that crow, so I just grabbed another piece of paper, and while the muscle memory is going in that direction, I look at this one, and I painted this one a little bigger. You can see that. And then I looked at that one and painted this one. They got a little bigger. And then this morning, I think I threw them all out there on the desk like so over there. And I just started sketching this one here that I kind of like. And I just changed pens on you. I just went from the Extreme Gel Roller Ball, Micro Ball. It's just a tiny little thing. I just went to my little Kakuno Extreme Fine, I think they call it ultra fine, fountain pen, and I'm just sketching a little bit with the fountain pen there. And these wings look pretty fruity when you just put them in there with all the feathers, but I think you'll see that it'll come to fruition. Pen and ink really sometimes is just so fun to do. And this is that art that you do when you don't really have any other supplies with you. Sometimes you just go, I just want to do this. Painted a couple things to give away over the weekend. Just really fun. Keeping up with some of your art on Roo's Crew. I mean, you people are so good. it is just remarkable. So top of the morning to you, Linda Lawless. Thanks for being on the show. Good morning. Linda Linhart, got all the Lindas up here at the beginning, one with an L-Y, one with an L-I. Parents, that's parents doings for you. Kathy, it's got a Y on it. Kathy Padroni, thank you for being on the show. Morning blessings from California. I will take them, my friend. Randall Taylor Craven, thanks for being on the show. Brenda Wilcox, Glenda Small, Deborah Tauber, Susie DeLay, thanks for being on. Got the California artists all up early this morning. Thank you for being with me. Yvette, thank you for being on the show. Karen Binder, or I never carried binder, so for me, it is binder, though. Denise Albright, there's another person from California. Great Scott, you guys are so loyal from way out west. Bob Hendrick, let's do this. Let's reboot Scootin'. Reboot. We needed a reboot after Saturday morning shows. Saturday morning, it just fell apart in a handbag or one of those old sayings. And so, it is what it is sometimes. So I promised some of you that I would, I didn't really promise. I said, I'll try to tell the story. I'm going to try to tell the story if I can tell it again. I think I wrote a note down here about the story. I did. It's written up there. I made a little note right up there on my desk. And so I'll see if I can recap that story. But I'm going to tell you something else I'm going to do with that story and for people who want to hear that story. So I'll go into that a little bit later. So Bob, good morning to you. Betsy, thank you for being on the show. Sobolewski, Dolores Bolin, Cindy Wiltermuth. Cindy, you got hopping on here before I have to cut hair. Well, Cindy, if you cut hair like you paint, those people are coming out of there looking pretty doggone good. So tomorrow for me, Cindy, is a haircut. So yeah, take a look at this. Can you see that right there? That's a lot of hair. And so when it's down, it's hanging like right here. And so tomorrow, new do for me. It's been, I think we figured out 15 and a half months since I've had one. And, I don't do anything drastic. My wife doesn't like really, really short hair, and neither I've never had it. I don't know what it's like. So it'll be styled somehow. So maybe, I'm not going to Bob Ross road. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do, but I'm going to cut it some, okay? So it's time. Good morning from dreamy sweet home, Alabama, Virginia man. Alice Durham, thank you for your sweet note. Blessings to you, my friend. Sheila Hunt, Alice sent me an email that was heartfelt. I appreciate that. Barbara Meyer, thank you for being on the show. Nancy Leftwich, happy Manic Monday. It's another Manic Monday. Shannon Martinez, thanks for being on the show. Lana Dunaway from partly cloudy northwest Arkansas. Could you narrow that down just a little bit for me? Marion Anwad, thank you for being on the show. Jack Wolfenbarger, blessings to you, buddy. Fern Skelly, Pauline Bowl, Deborah Spanger, Sally Ann Smith. I see just all of you people. Sally Ann, did I get a note through Pat or somebody that you had sent me an envelope that was supposedly to sign off on or sign for? I could be wrong on this because I've had a lot going on, and I'm not. But I only received one envelope in the last several months that had a sign to release, and it was from Sandra Scoggins, who sent me back 3 pieces of art that I had to sign. I forgot to sign them during the auction. There were 3 of those little bitty crabs that I'd painted. And I included them in some other paintings she bought and just forgot to sign them. And so I haven't received anything where I had to sign off. So I usually run from those because usually it's the IRS saying, hey, we got to sign it. You need to sign this. So I'm so sorry if I've missed something that you've sent me. I went back through all my mailboxes that I get from you guys. There's a box that I put things in after I read them and go through them. And then there's the artwork I put somewhere. I still don't have room in here to put some of that up. And so it's hard to keep up with it. I appreciate it. And I get things that I read, and then I get things that I go, whoa, what is this? Somebody sent me a scrubber that they had made. And this week, I think it showed up for cast iron. Pretty cool. Dolores Bolin, thank you for being on the show. Chris Whitaker. Yes, Jennifer Yentz. Is it Yentes or Yentz? Pat Brooks. Thank you for being on the show. Pat. Pat's the good friend out of that. Pat and I have never met, and yet we've collaborated on a project. And that's you know what is fun about this community. So many of you who are sending out small pieces of artwork to others and sharing that. You don't even know really who those people are, and yet you do. You connect online, and this community's gone pretty deep. I'm just telling you, it's the most amazing thing that I have seen in social media in a long time, where you're coming in to encourage, you're coming in to stand alongside. There's a biblical word for that. It's a Greek word, I think, and I didn't study Greek. In fact, I didn't really study anything. But there's a word that's called a paraclete. Paraclete. There you go. It's a Greek word. Just popped into my head, and it means come alongside. What a great word that is. I'll come alongside you. And so some of you, even though you're not in the same city and you're not at the back fence, you're not at the back porch knocking on the family door, you're not handing soup in, you're coming alongside via a transmission, via technology. And it's pretty remarkable. I never imagined this in my life when I was at Bluegrass Elementary School outside Knox County, Tennessee. As huge as that school was, 180 students, 1st through 8th grade. And I love that ball field. I miss the pine trees out in there too. We used to go play in the pine straw. And I'd go home by Tobler's Lake and throw rocks, skip rocks. Man, I miss all that. I don't miss it that much because Deborah Rideout, thank you for being on the show. Donna Buckley, Gene Anthalzer, thank you for being here. Jerry Lynn, Wilhelm Powers, Sandra Connor, thanks for showing up. Jeanette Seal, Jimmy Jensen, Sue Kane, all the way from Australia. Pat Lightbody, thanks for being on the show. And Pat Tuning Thompson, thank you for being here. Annette Wall, Jacqueline Browse, had quite the experience at the end of your show on Saturday. I was out to walk, listening to your show, and got bitten bad by a dog that ran down. Oh my gosh. I am so sorry. I'm just going to say this among you friends and people, and I'm tough and I grew up in the country. There's no place on this earth for a biting dog. No, don't have a dog that bites. Someday grandchildren or grandchild will. No, there's just no place. No place. Man, I am sorry. Laura Mayer, thank you for being on the show. Nancy Rubik. We do not need the music, she said. Well, you may not need it on my show, but we all need it somewhere. Music stirs the heart, stirs the soul, and tips over the feelings and the passion sometimes. See there? I'm a poet. I just know it. Laurie Stanley, Heddermeyer Henderson, thank you for being on the show. And Sandra Hassenbean. Wow, I'm just saying hello to a lot of people on Monday morning. There's a lot of folks on the show this morning. June Jones, Mary Lou, Brenda Dow, Sabine, thank you for being on from old Europe, she says. Old Europe, you know what that means. It's way down in Germany somewhere. That's old Europe. Sue Pezzolo, is it Pezzolo? Pezzolo. I like it. Patricia Evans. All right, here we go. Let's do some painting here this morning. Mary Quayle, thank you for being on the show. Let me jump way up here. Oh my gosh, you guys are just piling on. Hey, I will answer a couple questions today. So if you've got a question about painting or about pocket knives, I just answered several of those online. Pocket knife, no kidding. Because I keep a little knife here on my desk to sharpen pencils with. I just sharpened a little pencil here this morning. Here it is right here. And I think I've done this. You never sharpen a pencil like this. It's not like you're sharpening a fence post to drive in the ground, with a hatchet. You're finessing the work. And so you hold it like this and you bring it in and you lay the pencil up on the top of your thumb like this. And you just use the little tweak of your fingers like this to bring that pencil to you. And you say, well, you're whittling towards yourself. You say, no, not really. There's no way I can cut myself like that. The blade is not even going to hit anything that's required flesh except right here. And you just go in and you hook those little rough edges. And you go in if you want to smooth that out a little bit. It's a great sound, isn't it? Man, I remember this sound from when I was just a little guy. And my dad would sharpen his pencil first thing every morning when we got on the construction site. He was a contractor. All right, here we go. Let's paint a little bit. Let me finish this crow just for fun. I've got out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think I had 7 here. Is that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different pens. You'd think the man who's being indecisive this morning could create this. So here we go. Just picking up some color here, and you don't see it yet. You just see me making little marks. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put some this ink right in here, because what happens when I put this ink in here and touch it with water? You're going to get some cool black in there. I'm going to take this pen right here. This is an ultra fine flare pen, which is not even made anymore. I'm just going to do some little. They almost look like those birds that they teach you in school to paint way out in the ocean. You know, that's little. You have to do the sound effect. So really, they're just a light bad hue, and so put that in there like that. I might as well do the. Let's see, what can I do the eye with? I'll do the eye with this stylus here. Let's see. And the eye's going to be, the crow eye is a little bit oblong, more not just round, but he's got some space under it, and then he's got some black in there like this. He's got kind of a mean looking eye. He's crows have an attitude, whether you like it or not. They're pretty cool though. They are smart birds. They can figure things out. They're about as smart as a squirrel. I mean, the squirrels can take apart a bird feeder with a 9mm wrench, because most of them are left-handed. I don't know if they're left-handed or not, but I do appreciate left-handed artists. All right, so I just took a little eraser and I dusted across there a little bit, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this pen right here and just put a black spot right in there, just to pick up some dark and let it kind of come down over the shoulder. You see, I'm using a Lamy pen right now, who, and I know when I touch water to this pen, it's going to take off. If you haven't done a key in a long time for all your pens, do a key, okay? And those of you who've painted with me for 278 days have seen me do this 20 times, I bet, but I'll make a little key, right? Like you do with your colors, a little square, and I put my pen in it, and I touch a brush to it, so I get a feel for how all my pens bleed. This one bleeds a little Payne's gray. This one bleeds a little purple, a gray. This one just kind of a blue-black, but dark. This one, black, okay? This one, soft, a lighter black. They're all black, and you go, well, good grief, man, they're all black and white. Yeah, but they're all a little different. And so what happens when I use this many pens is I get this different hue and tone of colors. And I wanted a darker shadow right here. So this has a little bit of Speedball ink in it. And this is my old #1 first fountain pen. Why did I take that off when I was going to show it to you? And it just comes, one of the things that I haven't found is a Speedball in longer cartridges. So this is a short cartridge, and I just plug them in. There's another. Oh, there it is right there. There's another cartridge in there that I keep in there. Boop. So, you know, that way if I'm out and about in my bug out bag and one runs out, I got another backup in the handle. Sometimes, you know, this pen is nice. Pop, you just pop it back on. But there's something about unscrewing the cap of an old fountain pen and just letting the space happen and your mind clear, and you go, okay, I'm taking this off, and I think I'm going to use it right here. Right there, just a little bit right there. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to pick up a little bamboo brush here, maybe a number 0 SW brush, and just give this a little bit of a swish. So watch this. Here we go. I'm just going to go in here and just start sweeping in a little bit very carefully like so. Now I'm going to add a little more water and pick up that black in the wing, because I want that wing to shadow a little more. Now look what's happening right there. You see it just running down through there? Man, if you can't have fun doing black and white sometimes, you're missing out on just some wonderful art. And also you'll become a better sketcher. So I do this on Sundays when I take a journal to church with me, and I sketch what the pastor's saying. Sometimes I send him a text after the Sunday service and go, hey, here's what I heard. He goes, mercy, I need to go back to seminary. No, not really. He's a dear friend. And but I love the fact that, look at that though. Is that coming together? Don't you love that concept of just a little touch of water? Come down in here and grab these feet. You know, crow's feet are black. Their bill is not. It's got a little. It's dark, but it's shiny dark. So I'm just leaving a little bit of that Payne's gray in there. See right where I put that Lamy pen? Look how dark that is. And look what happened here to this Speedball. It bled right over where the water was. I may let that just dry for a minute and show you what happens when I come back in with a little pen on top of this. Watch what happens. Do a little bit of detail. How fast to just pencil sketch it, go over it with a little bit of a pen, and then just have some fun. So there's my crow right there. Woohoo! Black and white, somebody says. Sketch the hen with the chick under her wing. Oh, how about that? Good deal, Carla. As the hen hovers over Jerusalem, huh? What size nib, tip, fountain pens do you frequently use? Sandy Road, there's a question. If I said I'd answer a couple questions this morning just to take a little time. Kathy says, I bought some Yasutoma ink. Can't wait to use it. I have some bamboo pens I use for pen and ink. That's fantastic. Okay. Sandy, here's what I work with. Here's my pens right here. Some of you want to see these. Let me find a piece of doodle paper here. Just something easy to doodle on here. All right. While this dries just a second, I'm going to go back to that crow in a second. And let's just start in order of something. This pen, of course, is you guys know I love pens. Okay, I sketch with a pen probably 98% of the time. I do keep a pencil on the desk, like I don't do many crows. So for me to do a crow, I've got to sit down and I've got to think. And I raced 3 or 4 times before I went on the air this morning. I sat there and I went, okay, that just looks like a rooster beak. You know, the crow has a longer beak and it's sharpened out, but it's got a little bit of a crown in the top of it. How do I know that? Because I look at pictures. And the funny thing, yesterday morning while I was sketching this one here that turned out to be the first one, there was one outside going, car, car, car. So I looked and there was a car coming. Boom, I'll be here all week. No, he was out there on top of a tree limb just kind of having a field day. And so it made me laugh, and I thought, wow, do they know I'm sketching them this morning? So for me, I do use a pencil when I do that, and then I'll come back in and ink. And so I love pens. I love to sketch with pens. These are the 2 pens. Those of you who started with me over a year ago know that the 2 pens that I talked about all the time and that I even recommended for some of you to buy if you want a good smooth pen that writes well into watercolor are the Pentel Energels. This is the Pentel 07. Listen, this is very important. Needle point, needle point, needle point. So Sandy, needlepoint pens are these. Okay, they're made by Pentel. If you're taking notes, I hope you are. And so there's an 05. This is the 07. This is the pen that Yasutoma just turned me on to. This is a cool pen. It's called the Extreme, and it's an 05. 05 is, this is not the year they were made. That's the measurement, okay, in millimeters. This is my pen from the ancient days of yore. This is a ultra fine flare, vintage 1970. Yeah, good luck finding that. They made them up until 2000, and then they quit, 2007 actually. This is the stylus pen made by Yasutoma, but I didn't even know it was Yasutoma at the time. So I was introduced and I said, oh, I had this pen. I love stylus. And she said, yeah, we made that pen. I went, what? Well, make it again. And she says, no, we don't need that pen now. I'm going like, well, I need it. This is the Kakuno, K-A-K-U, with a couple dots over it, N-O. Kakuno is made by Pilot, and it is ultra fine. I know you guys will see me do this, and so, but new people on the show pop up, and you want to see it. This is the Kakuno. This is ultra fine fountain pen. This is fine point fountain pen. and it's Pilot. Both of these are Pilot. This is a Lamy pen, and it's pronounced Lamy. It's spelled Lamy, and it has Lamy ink in it, Lamy, dark, dark, dark. This is a Speedball ink in here. And this one needs to be, I haven't used this pen in months. I just used it for touching a minute ago, but Speedball, this is Speedball. This is, hold it, I can do this. I think I can do this. Just give me a second. I can do this. This is Sumi ink with a dip pen right here. Okay, so I'm dipping this pen right here. S-U-M-I. Okay, that's a Sumi pen. Just dirtied up all my water by dropping that in there. This is the Yasutoma pen made out of bamboo. And it's Sumi ink. Okay. All right, so there we go. That's enough of a mess for this morning. Oh, nope, got some more mess on me. So when you're working with ink, you might as well just not wear a white shirt. That's what I'm saying here. But I'm just going to get let's get a bamboo brush. Let's get a all-purpose number 4. Here it is right here. Just wet it here with a little bit of, supposed to be clean water, but it was till I put the ink in there. And here's the 05. Watch what happens when I just put a little water on it. Okay? Brush, brush, brush like that. Brush, brush, brush. It's been dry a little bit. Brush, brush. Look at this. Brush, brush, brush. Whoops. Brush, brush. Lamy. Woohoo! Speedball. Suni. Oh, and this one. Ready? Okay. So, what'd you learn? Look at the different colors. Look at the blue that shot into the stylus. Okay? I miss that. I'm sorry they don't bring me that back because I love that. I love that for the ground. And if I'm on the beach and I'm painting some of those crabs, I can take that stylus pen and create my ocean and be done. Between that and the ultrafine, I didn't need any watercolor. Of course, this is watercolor, but it's not. It's really ink. So, and then look at the Lamy pen. I mean, it's just like, that's really, if I want to come back in here and put some of this into the crow. So what you see is, look, see that stylus right here? Get this little bit of blue in there. So I've done this enough to recognize all these colors, and I get a feel for how they bleed. So so that's proud to be a lefty, Pat Lightbody says. So Sandy, I hope that helps you out a little bit. That's one question I answered this morning. I'll be happy to answer another one. The difference between ravens and crows is one starts with the R, one starts with the C. No, that's not true. The raven is a bigger bird. I've actually seen the ravens at the Tower of London, and they just walk around and get fed really well. And there's a great story about them. If you haven't read that, it's worth reading. Ravens are the James Earl Jones bird of the world. We want the meat. That's right. That's funny. Crows keep taking my little rubber duckies out of my porch pond container. Bring food to drop in the water. Man, that's funny. That is really funny. What's the name of the restaurant in Waynesville you said to try? That's awesome. Okay, there's two. One is the Hazelwood Diner. The Hazelwood Diner is the one my friend runs. That's for breakfast. That's just kind of a mom and pops go in and just get good early breakfast food. The other one is called, oh my gosh, it's not Frog Legs, but it's Frog something. Frog. Yikes. I'll have to find that out and tell you. I'm just sorry it slipped by my name, but it's Frog something. It's downtown. High end. Okay, you're going to drop a few bucks there, I'm telling you. But man, will you be treated like a part of the royal family when you eat there? Okay, and you think, wait, I'm in Waynesville? Hold on a second, man. This town has come into its own. It is rocking. Okay, hold on. I got to go across the room and get my trash can over here. I moved it way over there to go empty it, and I didn't do too well getting it back over. Okay, so that's 2 questions, but I'll ask another one. That's a taking notes. Does the package usually say needlepoint on it? Yes, Sandy. Listen, if it doesn't say needlepoint, it's not needlepoint. If it doesn't say Coca-Cola product, it's not a Coca-Cola product. Okay, it's got to say needle tip or needle point, but it'll say needle tip, and Ed Henslin says needle tip is huge. Here's why. If you just get the Pentel 07, it's got a big old thick roller ball, and it will not give you what you want in watercolor painting. I promise you, you're not going to be happy with it. I use those to put feathers on the back of them, and they become darts. Okay, I don't care for them. Okay, cool to watch the ink roll. Glenda Edwards Small, it is cool to watch the ink roll. Isn't that funny? So we're going to watch a little more roll this morning, but we're going to watch watercolor roll because I want to paint something for you. And it's been on my mind since I painted a couple classes for children. And kids love this, but I love it too. And I started to do one for you guys on Saturday before my show went upside down. I got myself into a storytelling mode. I didn't really mean to, except that I did. And I started telling you a story about my mom who always said, you look peaked. And I said, well, I don't feel peaked. And she said, but you look peaked. And Jack, of course, who's on the show, would know Mama Joe, who would always say that. And you show up at my house and you could bring her $100 bill, but if she thought you looked a little thin in the face or peaked, she'd want to feed you and say, you look a little peaked here. I got some soup on. Would you like a little soup? And that's just who my mom was. Notice now I'm just coming in with this pen and doing a little dancing detail on the legs of this bird, just because I like it. And I might come in here and put some more of those little things. This is the fun part about art that makes you just feel like you want to be fast brain, is that you look at it and you go, I'm not through with it yet. I want to do something else to it. And I love the concept of what happens when you do something else. Get in here with a little more shadow right in there, a little under shadow. That's why this pen right here is just so fun to use. And I am sad for everyone doing watercolor today who doesn't know this pen, because it is just awesome. What you can't see right now, probably, you can a little bit maybe, all this beautiful blue-green that's just right in there. It's just like, how could you get that color another way? It'd be tough. You'd have to mix it in a palette, and it's just the pens, and it just makes me smile when I look at it. I love the green tint that comes to some of that too. So these are why am I drawing crows? Remember I told you I was going to draw 50, maybe 100, maybe 200 birds. And I chose the bluebird and the cardinal and the wren because I love the circus style of wrens and they're noisy, they're loud, they're boisterous. But the bluebird has this awesome little whistle, and he's more a little timid and tender and flies around. The cardinal is just, most cardinals think they're the Pope. And they want to see themselves in the window. This is not a shot at the Catholic Church. It's just who they are. And I love the fact that they're dressed up, and they come to the bird feeder, and one gets in the seed with the other one, and they'll have it out right then. They'll have a little confrontation. Oh, they haven't been flying into the window recently, and so I'm thankful for that, because sometimes they'll just fly into the window and knock their cotton picking socks off. All right, so that's a little lesson in fountain pens, and that's why I had 6 of them laying out here this morning. Over the weekend, I just sit down sometimes and I'll do some crows, and I'm gonna lay these back over here. Let's see, I'll keep this number 7 Pentel out, and I'll show you why in just a second. So that's the one I just did. Here's the one I did on Saturday. This is the first one I did, and here's another one. And you know what? I'll come up with captions for these. I kind of like them. And I'll do probably a dozen of them going left, and then I'll make some right turns, and I'll paint the other side of the bird and see how I feel about sketching that way. Why do I do that? This is why. Because I'm not a great artist, and so I have to work at my craft. It's if I reached over there and picked up the mandolin, I'd go, man, I haven't played this in so long. My fingers don't work, and I've got to start with some little song that I know simple, and I got to sketch and sketch and sketch, okay? All right, so that's what I'm going to do with these crows. They'll probably fall into the auction pile along with a roux like this. That's just ink and splatter, and my Showtime stays with me. I think there's one more that I did Monday before or Saturday before it got kicked off. This one is pen and ink also. See how that green tint looks in there? I love that. That just makes me smile about artwork. All right, here we go. I was talking about getting to do some artwork for kids, and I love doing that. I painted for another class just recently, sent them over a little video and posted it for them. And the kids were making some cards for me. And I love the concept of what happens when kids are inspired by somebody, listen, not just me, somebody who takes time to talk to their level. And we call that putting the story, putting the cookie on the bottom shelf or on a shelf that they can reach it anyway. Sometimes art philosophers and art schools and art teachers, and not always, but this happens in every subject because you get excited about what you're doing and you learn new things and you want to express that, but sometimes you just outrun and leave people. That's why I did Roo Basics, to just literally go back and say, let's just talk about paper, and let's just talk about pens, and let's just talk about storytelling and connection, and let's talk about selling you as an artist. And so that's kind of what this class is about. It's been a slower pace, the one I do on Wednesdays. That's all signed up now. And thank you, Jacqueline. I appreciate that. It was fun to send something up there. And I got to tell you, we were afraid we couldn't do it live because of the internet. So I recorded a piece and sent out to their class so she could run it when she needed to. And it was just like you see right now. And I'm just talking to third graders. And I'm saying, you know in your heart you can be an artist. Just work on the craft. And sometimes from someone outside that is even pseudo friends, you haven't met me, but you met me online, with the teacher says, I want to tell you about a friend of mine. And they go, well, okay, teacher, if he's a friend of yours, then we'll welcome him in the classroom. And so they're willing to take this viewpoint. And it's not an expert viewpoint. It's just another viewpoint. All right. So this is the one I always do for kids, and I really love it. I just take some blue. See if I get it to drop. There's a little spot right there. Maybe just one more little drop there. And then, of course, I love the fact when this happens. Jack says, Mama Joe with her soup and hot biscuits. I love them. I thank God for being in my life. That's awesome, Jack. Thank you, man. Jack would, even after I left the town of Knoxville, Jack sometimes would go visit my parents and just sit on the porch and talk to them. And hopefully they fed you well, my friend. That's hospitality. I love it. They loved you and your family, and so did I, man. All right, so here we go. So look at this. I'm just going to pick this up, and I'm just going to blow across it, just like that right there. Those of you who see me do this, that looks like black ink, but it is blue. And you know what I love about that? Everything. I love that when you're doing this for kids and they realize what you've just done, they don't see it in the beginning. And I also don't love the fact that this dropper does not work. Why is that? I'm going to send this one back to me and P.H. Martin's going to have a talk about this dropper they sent me. There's one right there. I'll take that one. All right. Ah! I'm really going to send it back to him now. Okay, so there's enough red here to build the bridge over River Kwai. Where is the top to this thing? I got to put it on there. Oh, this is so cool. Look at that. Is that awesome? It's the Red Sea. And the Red Sea was crossed by the Israelites. I better stop and tell the biblical story. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right, let's see if we can clean this off real fast. This is why you do this right here. Woo-hoo-hoo. Saved by the bell. Look at that. See, if that had been on my old pub table, I would have been one unhappy person. But look at that. Rescued it just like that. Oh. Now I got to tell you, sometimes when I'm painting for kids, especially when they're at my house in the backyard, and I do these demonstrations in the backyard for my blacksmithing shop, and so I will always go get a piece of canvas and I'll bring it out. And sometimes I spill some ink like that, and the kids all go, oh! And so I'll take a big brush. I mean, that was enough paint to do a 5-foot rooster. Splat. That was a splat, Pat. I love it when that happens. Okay. All right. So there we go. And just mix a little yellow in here. All right. So that's my rooster right there. Some of you see it already. I see it. I know you do too. I'm just going to take a thin brush here. I get the dropsy this morning. That's really funny, isn't it? It wasn't that funny when it first happened. But gyro. Yeah, but see, if you have a big glass panel on your table, then you have to get your towel and wipe all it up. I just wrapped up the paper and it worked like great. So now I'm just going to throw some water in there like this. Look at this. Just throwing some water on there. Just letting that go out a little bit. And then here we go. This ought to be fun. Now I'm just going to make some feathers. Let them come out like this. Just wispy feathers that come back from this roux. There he goes right there. That's perfect. I'm going to mix a little of this red in right here. And then I want a little bit of this yellow just to come in there and make some orange. And then I want a little bit of this yellow and some of this blue to create a little bit of green right in there. Look at that. Okay. So here's where you get to use your primary colors and just have a field day with them if you want to. And I'm going to put a beak right here on this rooster. And then I'm going to go in here and wash my brush out, get a little bit of red right here. And then I'm going to put the wattle right there, just right there. And then go in here and get some of this red. Now I need some of that red that I wasted. I'm going to need a little bit more of it, but I'm going to come in here and just put the wattle up here like this. And there it is coming in. And then a little more of this yellow and blue right here. I like this green coming in. Yeah, roosters have a lot of green in them sometimes, and I love that. Love those green feathers coming down right there. Is that cool? And so then let's go back and build his back up here. And let's get some of this and bring some brown in and some purple on his back like that too. He's got his head way out there. He's really reaching out. So I'm going to build up his chest a little bit right here. He's a long roux. And then let's come in with a little blue right here. Just making this up as I go. And you're going like, really? Like we didn't notice that? All right. So going to need a little bit more yellow. And now I see something that's happening here. Here's where we bring out the eraser. Just get a little piece of paper towel. Notice how this yellow is running, red's running down into yellow. So I can change that a little bit by grabbing, here's an old cassette tape of mine. Yeah, look at this. This is when I had my mullet. You know, everybody had one at some time, didn't they? Okay, at least I did. All right, so here we go. So now I'm going to just go with my pen. And not that pen, but this pen right here. I've got this Pentel needle tip 07 liquid gel ink. Okay, don't go get the wrong thing when you go get this pen. Get the right thing. I don't say that very often. I say you can use whatever you have, but if you want a pen that reacts really well with watercolor, this is a good one that does it. Because see, this is wet ink paint, and I'm painting over, I'm drawing right on top of it, and I love that liquid ink that'll do that. And I also think I want a little bit more oomph here in the background, so I'm going to beef these feathers up right here coming out like that. Yeah, I think he needs just a little more power. They look a little wimpy for a roux this size. All right, I'd like to get rid of that spot right there if I can. That's just where I've spilled ink. Oh, it's hard to believe that I spilled something. Okay, so I'm going to go right there and then just pick that up. Let's try that one more time. Clean, go in, just grab some water, loosen it up a little bit, and then just push down and see if we can soak some of that up. There we go. Cleaned up a lot of that right there on his back. These really should be going this way and not that way. So I'm going to turn these around and come up here like that. And then I've just sort of camouflaged it right in. And now I'm going to go get a little bit more of this yellow because I just didn't have as much of that as I wanted. And I'm going to drop some right there. And I'm going to drop one right there. Oh, just let it run down. I'm going to put a little bit in this leg and a little more in this leg right here, just like so. And then I got all those just sort of kind of coming together. Watch this. Pull this back in. You're thinking, wow, that rooster has some lavender legs, but I put that purple in there. It looks pretty cool, doesn't it? Now I'm just going to tie this shoulder part in right here. I do believe he needs a bigger wattle. Yeah, that needs just a little more. That's a little wimpy up there. Mullet. Yeah, Pat, we all have. Well, no, women didn't, but or some did. But I had a storytelling mullet back then. Remember the old MacGyver show? Well, I kind of thought I was MacGyver, and so I wore my hair like that and did some storytelling across the country, and it was a good one. Kept it out of my eyes. Like now, I just have to pull it back, so nobody sees it anyway. So I might as well just get it cut off, and you know, summer's coming on, so I could use a little cooler hairstyle. I don't mean cooler as in weather. I mean cooler. You know what I mean? Just kidding you. Okay. I should have some titanium white in here somewhere, and I'm almost out of it, I think. I'm not applauding for my rooster. I'm just going to get some titanium white here and see if I can grab a little bit. And watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a titanium white, and I'm just going to drop it right there in that blue and just let it go wherever it wants to go. This is liquid watercolor. So I'm just going to go up here and go drop, drop, and just let it just kind of come down. Now, I said I was going to let it go wherever, but I'm going to turn my page up and just let it run down a little bit like that. And then if it doesn't go exactly where I want it to go, then I'm going to take it where I want it to go. I'm just going to go in here and brush it out a little bit. I want to bring a little bit back this way and some up this way. I got a little bit of green in that brush, so I'm just bringing it in like this. But I love that lightening it up just a little bit right there. I still think it needs a little bit right here, just like, you know, there's a little bit of where these pen feathers come together. And this paint, it's time to go to the art store and get some of this. Looks like I'm out. Boom! There's a spot that just stuck out like a star. Rooster with a big old beautiful birthmark. I love that. All right, a little shadowing here now. Just pick up some of that, a little shadow, a little more of this yellow right in here. And then just let a little bit of that come down. Get some wild hair coming back and forth like this. Got to put a little bit of an earth beneath him. I feel the earth move under my feet. This is earth color right here. Look at this. I'm not going to overdo it. I'm not trying to paint the full background. My paintings are never about the background. My paintings are all about this. Someone posted a beautiful painting the other day of some flowers just on a white piece of paper. And I think your question was, should we splatter this or not splatter? And I wanted to respond. I didn't, just because I wanted to see what other people would say. But I wanted to say, don't do it. Or if you do it, just hit it lightly in the grass. Just put a little bit of splatter out of the painting itself like this. Just get a kind of a clean brush, but damp, and roll it right in this right here. And maybe touch it with a little touch of water and go in and just splatter right in here. Just right in there some. Just ever so lightly. And then let that rooster alone, or that flower. Put the easel down and back away. That's one of the rules in Noodle Doodle Fiddle Piddle, which I am going through some things today on. Still waiting on some mail. But all right, that's a cool Roo right there. He's a big old beautiful Roo. I still have audio. Somebody losing audio? Is there no sound now? Roo music? Nope. All right. I don't know. The internet's still being funky. A lot of folks on the show this morning. I appreciate you being on here. Chris Young, thank you very much. Hey, I started a story with you the other day, and I might as well just wrap it up right now and tell you, those of you who missed the story, and I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do to it and about it. It's a story that yes, all stories have an ability to embellish the story. Audio, but no music. I'm not playing any music this morning. There's no music on the show. I just punted it because Facebook was giving me a hard time over it, and so I just went without my classical music this morning until I get the booze ironed out with those guys. In 1994, I went in a studio in Georgia. A friend of mine owned a big recording studio, and I went in with a stack of paper and said, he said, what are we going to do today? And I said, when I leave today, this afternoon, or tonight, whenever I finish this, I'm going to leave with the master's done in 2 storytelling tapes. Back then it was all cassettes. Remember those days, huh? Remember cassette? You had to have. And I said, I'm gonna do 2 albums at one time. He goes, you're crazy. And I go, no. These are stories. I can pull it off. And he said, I'm gonna tell them just like I'm live. And there's I'm in the audiences that I've traveled. I've told these stories. And he says, well, whose stories are these? I said, well, they're my stories. There's a couple old folklore tales that have been woven through. There's a lot of true history in these stories. And then there's the embellished concept of where even the story I'm going to tell you this morning is based on true facts and some things that really happened. But then there's a couple twisted pieces. And that's just what storytelling does. You come to say, it's what film does. It's the artistic license that you do. Do I tell truthful stories sometimes? Oh, you bet. Sometimes the story in its truth is just greater than the story that's that you've made up. But sometimes over telling the story, you find little nuances and pieces that stretch. And so I tell you all the time in my Noodle Doodle Fiddle Piddle rule book that you're going to see soon with Pat, that all paintings, all and everything is fodder for a story. And so this story was, of course, from a tape that I did years ago. And here it is, believe it or not. It's called Life's a Gift. And there are only 4 stories on here. And the album's about 45 or 50 minutes long. And it was done in cassette, shipped it out. The other one was called I'm Going to Have to Beat Your Tail. And it was the one-upmanship of storytelling. When somebody tells a story and somebody else says, that ain't nothing. But I didn't go around telling people that I was going to tell stories. There's nothing worse than walking into a 1st grade class or a 3rd grade class and saying, hey, I've got a story to tell you. It's a great story. It's the best story you ever heard. And they go, is it as good as when the elephant came and sat on our teacher's desk? And I'm going, well, no, it's not that good. Well, so don't tell them it's the best story they ever heard. Just don't even tell them that you're going to tell them a story. Just walk in and go, the man who drove our school bus was named Charlie. And Charlie knew all of us really well. In fact, he had driven my brother to school and my sister to school. And he knew when our dog had pups. He knew how my dad's bee business was doing. He fished with my dad. We knew where he lived, and we had been to his farm. And he wasn't too far from the school itself. And his bus picked me up in the morning and take me to the to the elementary school until I was past the 8th grade. And then his bus still picked me up. This was long before I had a car. And it would drop me off at the school. And then another bus would come and I would get on that bus and drive another 10 miles down to where I went to high school. And so Charlie knew everything about me. If I thought I was going to play hooky one day or stay out of school, it was about 12 minutes until I got a call from the office and they said, your mom says you were planning on doing such and such today, or you were supposed to be at school and you were fishing somewhere else. And so Charlie knew everything that was going on. And I knew his family. I knew everything about him like he knew everything about me. And he was getting on up in the years. And it came time for Charlie to retire. And so this story 25 years ago was a funny story for me to tell. Now I think, wow, I'm approaching those years that Charlie was approaching. And I look at life differently, as some of you do. And some of you think of, wow, I'm turning on the news and I'm hearing all this stuff. And I'm thinking, if they would just concentrate on the important things, then the news wouldn't be the news. It would just be a fun story at the end of the evening after dinner hour. And it wouldn't be, watch out for this or careful to this or this person lied about this. It would just be about people saying, you know what life's good about? And that's what this class has been about. That's what this show has been about. Just enjoy art and tell good stories and pass that on. Withhold nothing is one of mine and Carol's rules, and if we have rules. But Charlie, it was time for Charlie to retire, and everybody knew it was time to retire. The school board knew it was time for him to retire, and he just needed to retire. He'd been driving a school bus for 35 years or more, and it was time. He had to pass his gauntlet on to someone else, and he always kept his hat up on top of the refrigerator or on a little peg by the refrigerator door. And I've been in his house, and he kept his driving gloves up on top of the refrigerator. And the day came finally when it was time for Charlie to retire, and you could tell that it had been building up for a while. He wasn't real happy with himself or anybody else around him. You don't know what happens in transition. You don't know how you're going to reinvent yourself. You don't know where you're going to head or what you're going to do. And I know in his heart now, at my age, he'd been studying that a little bit. You know, I only have this much more to go, so what am I going to do to make that important? And so Charlie went to bed with a light dinner early, and he got up the next morning, and Mary's eyes popped open when she heard him get up, and she's thinking, what's he getting up for? Because he's not even driving the school bus today. What is going on? And she was more concerned when he put his boots on and he walked out and heard him rattling around in the kitchen. And then she heard that sweep of those gloves coming off the top of the refrigerator and the back kitchen door closed. And she put her feet on the floor and walked over to the bedroom window, which looked out to where the outbuilding was, and the school bus was parked there. Parked it. You know, you took your school bus home. You don't need to go somewhere and pick your school bus up. In the country, you just drive your school bus home, park it off next to the side of your barn. So there was the school bus, but there wasn't the school bus because someone had picked it up the Friday before. And Charlie walked out there, and as he came around the bar, she was peeking through the edge of the curtains, and she saw him, and he just stopped. And he reached up, and he just tipped his hat up a little bit, and he looked out there, and he realized, oh my gosh, there's no bus here. I've been doing this for 30-something years. Every Monday morning, every Tuesday through Friday, I come out here, I get my hat on, I put it on just right, I get my gloves on, and I reach on to grab that handle and swing up on that bus, and that bus is not there. He almost wanted to hold that handle and step up there, but if he did, he'd know he would look like some ballerina dancer with nowhere to step. And so you know, you get that feeling that somebody's watching you, and he turned around and the curtains just fell too. Mary thought, oh no, I pray he didn't see me. I pray he didn't see me. She peeked out again, and he was just sort of standing there. By now he'd taken his hat off, and he was holding his hand, and he just whopped it against his leg like that, and he pivoted and came toward the house. She jumped back in the bed and just pulled the covers up and shut her eyes. She heard the kitchen door slam. She heard the gloves go back up on the refrigerator, and the hat just wham on the hat rack. Bedroom door pushes open. He said, I'm out of here. I'm going to the store. She said, what do you need? He said, I know we need milk and bread. She said, I don't need milk and bread. I got plenty of milk yesterday, and I got bread. Well, I'm going to get milk and bread. Well, we don't need milk and bread. He said, don't worry about it. I'm going to the store. Bunch of men down there that I'd like to see, and I'm going to head on down there. And she said, that's good. Those men all come there, and they sit in the window, and they whittle, and they have a snack cake, and they talk about farms and weather and fishing, and go, just go. I'm going to be right here. But she really didn't. She got up and followed him out a little bit, but he got in his truck, drove down to the store, and it was only a mile to the store, and there was all the men sitting in the window, and they had their pocket knives out, and some had cedar sticks, and I know they had cedar sticks because I used to, as a boy, go sell them cedar sticks, true story, and they're all sitting there, and they're whittling, and they're sitting there, and they say, well, look at you, ain't this something? Look what the cats have drug in. It's Charlie. Charlie, come on over. And he said, I'll sit down with you for a little while. And they said, boy, I bet you're kicking your heels up high today. He thought, yeah, I was wanted to kick him up and step on the step of that bus, but it wasn't there. He didn't say that, but he felt that way. And they said, well, man, no more rugrats and screaming, yelling, jumping kids back and forth, driving those noisy things all the way to school and back. But, you know, they were talking about things that they didn't know about because he loved those kids. He loved talking to them. He loved finding out about their lives and their bird dogs and their corn crops and their strawberries. He loved that. And now he was missing it, and he just felt old. He sat there for a few minutes, and he realized he didn't want to be talking about the weather, and he didn't want to be talking about fishing, and he didn't want to be talking about all the stuff they were talking about, and he didn't even need milk and bread, but he bought some just to look like he had purpose. And he jumped in his truck, and he drove back to the house. And by the time he got to the porch, Mary was sitting out on the porch in the rockers, and she said, well, that was a short trip. And he said, I don't want to be down there with those yahoos. I don't want to be down there with them talking about something they don't know about. She said, why don't we go fishing? He said, I don't want to fish. I'm just frustrated. She said, well, I know you're frustrated because it'll take a while to get used to this. And he said, I don't want to get used to this. I want my life to matter somehow. And she said, well, then let's go fishing. And she said, I'll make some sandwiches. I'll make them on white bread. You love white bread. I know wheat's better for you, but I'll make them on white bread. And he said, I don't want any sandwiches, and I don't want to go fishing. He grabbed his hat and he pulled it back down over his head, and he went out. And she said, "Where are you going?" He said, "I'm going out to hoe some weeds in the garden." And she said, "Charlie, it's the start of the fall. We know pumpkins from weeds. You don't have to hoe pumpkins." He goes, "Let me alone. I'm going to the garden." And he just walked out by where the bus was parked, walked right through where the bus would have been. She watched him as he went out of sight around the corner, off to the garden patch. And he stood out there for a while. And he hoed that ground like he was mad at it, because he was. And he banged the hoe down on the ground, and he chopped up things. Felt like chopping up some pumpkins every now and then, but he knew kids would be coming by. That brought a little smile to his face, but not much. He was mad at himself. He was mad at her. He was mad at the school board. He was mad at the man at the store. He was mad at God. He just felt the worst he'd ever felt. And he said to himself right then, "I just wish I could die." And he felt a little tear just sort of well up in his eye a little bit and rolled down his nose, and it tickled his nose a little bit, and he sniffed like that. It wasn't a pleasant sound, but it happened. And at that very moment, as he sniffed, a little bee just flew right under his nose, and he just sucked that bee right up into his nose. And he knew that wasn't right. And so he tried to reverse that sniff and sort of hold his finger there like a man would do out in the woods and blow and just clean it out both sides. But nothing was happening. That bee was moving around, and it was giving him the strangest feeling he'd ever had. It was like he was already standing in a boat, and it was a wavy day. And he was thinking, "Oh, no, this is not good." And he wanted to grab his pocket. Well, that's not a good idea. Grab your pocket knife and so finally he was thinking, "What am I going to do?" And he just leaned down on the hoe like this. And it was about that time that bee stung him way up in his sinuses. And when it did, that's when he left us. Mary's sitting there rocking on the porch. She's gone through her second or third cup of coffee, and she's wondering, where in the world is he, and why is he not back? And he's just dealing with himself, and I'm going to let him alone. I'm not going to know. And then suddenly she heard this, and she said, "That sounds like his whistle, but it's not like his whistle." But sure enough, she sees him come walking around by the barn, because the bus now is not there to block off that turn. And he comes around the corner, just throws the hoe against the barn door. And he comes walking up, but he's got a little bit of a stagger to him a little bit. And the closer he gets, she realizes, "What in the world?" And she says, "My law, what in the, are you okay? What has happened? Where have you been? What is going on?" She could not finish the sentence, and she looked at him, and he had pumpkin all over his face. He had green vine stains all over his overalls. He had mud and dirt all over him. He'd been rolling around in a pumpkin patch. And she said, "Are you okay? Oh my gosh, do we need to take you to the hospital? Are you, what is happening?" He said, "What are you trying to say?" And she said, "You look a little peaked, but are you okay?" And he said, "I feel great." She said, "Your face, what's the matter?" And he said, "Listen, my eyes are almost swollen shut. My nose, I can't breathe through my nose. I'm breathing not in a very good way. And I'm going to tell you this right now. I went out there and I got mad at me. And Mary, I got mad at you. And I got mad at the school board. And I got mad at the men at the market. And I got mad at God, and I just said I wished I could die." And it was right then that God sent this little sweat bee over and went up my nose. She said, "What do you mean a sweat bee went up your nose?" He said, "It could have been a honeybee because it hurt." And she said, "Well, what are you talking about?" And he said, "That bee stung me." And he had passed out there in the garden for 30 or 40 minutes. And she said, "Well, let's go to the doctor." And he said, "No, I feel great. Let's go fishing." She said, "You don't want to go fishing like this?" He said, "I want to go fishing." They went out in Tolber's Pond in the little John boat. And she'd packed a little bag with some pimento cheese sandwiches on white bread. "You know this ain't good for you," she said, "but I'm going to let you eat it today because you look like you could use a gift." And he said, "Mary, I'll tell you the gift I got. Life is a gift. Life is a gift." And she looked at him. She took his face in her hands and she said, "I love you." And he said, "Mary, me too." Life is a gift, people. Life is a gift. Don't forget that. It's hard. It's difficult. It changes. It's frustrating, but it's a gift. I'm going to take a bunch of my old stories and I'm going to put them on a podcast. And maybe they're going to be called Roo Tales or Roo Stories or something. And I'll tell you guys where to get them. But it's time to retell some of them that I haven't told in 30 or 25 or 30 years. Thank you for being an audience to hear some stories and be inspired. Use your experiences to help other people. Take a sip this morning. Paint some. Share some. Thanks for liking my show. Thanks for loving, sharing with one another. I want you to take a sip right now and think, wow, you're highly favored. If you're even up painting, you're highly favored. Make somebody smile today. Send somebody a text, and I'll see you in the morning. I got to go contemplate tomorrow because I'm getting a haircut. It's been 15 or 16 months, but life is a gift. I'll see you guys later.